All right, good evening, everybody. It's Monday evening. The court is in session. We got tonight's first episode ever of Youtini Court. We're going to explain what that means. We're going to have a rockin' good time. And before any of that can happen, Wes has to punch it. Welcome to the Living Forest Podcast, a Youtini Network podcast. Tonight, all about the court and what is just and right. I am one of your hosts, judges, juries, and executioners, Eric Eilerson, and joining me today in the jury box are two of the most brilliant legal minds of a generation. That is not actually true, but one of them is a doctor, and his name is Dr. Corey Helton. What's up, dude?
Hello. Yes, doctors and lawyers famously do not agree on anything that is kind of true, to be honest. Mostly because when doctors and lawyers have to talk to each other, it's usually not under the best of circumstances, and it doesn't usually go very well. So
yeah, it's malpractice and everything, right? That's not what you want.
Yeah, something like most doctors get sued at least once in their career. Like a crazy percentage, like 80-something% get sued at least once in their career. So
yeah, we'll keep you posted, everybody.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, and for our video watchers, you notice Corey is rocking the minimalist aesthetic, complete with a literal drill just on a table in the background.
That's right.
So
that's right. Yeah,
the moving continues.
In a minute.
Absolutely. But in his normal background, keeping us stable but ready to bring the fiery hot takes late in the episode, of course, Mr. fan of the second best baseball team in Texas, Wes Jenkins.
Yes, what's going on, everybody?
Man.
Eric brought that up to me earlier today. He said, how do you feel about being the second best baseball team in Texas? And I was like, did San Antonio get a baseball team I didn't know about, and they brought all the Hall of Famers back or something? Oh, all right. What's going on? So I wanted to put this out there. I know we're going to try to get to this the court thing. I'm not in the jury, actually. We're going to be like on the stand. The jury is going to be the audience. But I did another. I made another keyboard. Remember when I said I wasn't going to do one?
Yeah.
Whoa!
I like the black and red.
Whoa!
Oh, it's red, white, and blue. I
Yeah.
like the little navy.
Yeah, I didn't actually build a whole complete one. This was a Wooting keyboard, so it's a gaming keyboard. But the Wooting keyboard comes in like a plastic case, and it sounds like shit. So I spent additional dollars to put it in a different case and put different keycaps in there and some sound dampening stuff, and it sounds so much better. And it's a disease, Corey. Thanks a lot. I think
welcome.
all the keyboard people know about that. It's stupid. I actually have a set of keycaps that I have to, or key switches that I have to lube on my kitchen counter right now, and I have another keyboard coming in that I'm going to use just for work.
I was gonna ask you. Have you lubed your switches yet? Because that's really when you cross the line into like dangerous.
Yeah, I lubed the switches as well, so I did all that nonsense. And you know
Well, they
what?
say
And
you
nothing
bought it.
really matters. It's just about the acoustics. It's just about the
Yeah.
acoustics.
Can you give us a clicky test? Can you? I don't know. Your microphone might not pick it up, but let's see here. Can we?
Nope.
It's not loud enough.
It's below the threshold.
I think
Nope,
it's
not
good.
at
Dang.
Anyways, yeah.
We'll trust you though. It's interesting because you say you got this board, and then it sounds like you replaced literally everything about it. It's like a ship of Theseus situation. Like if you take away all the parts of it, eventually, is it actually an original Wooten keyboard, or is it just
Yes,
some of
absolutely.
its new parts?
It's the switches that I did not replace. So these particular
Oh,
switches
okay.
are the fastest that you can purchase right now.
are they?
They're
Tell us what they
Lecker.
are.
They're Lecker switches. So they're magnetic. So like an
Oh,
actuation
interesting.
point, when you press the key down, it takes like, I don't know, 1.2 seconds on a really fast switch. On these, it's 0.3 seconds. So it's
Oh my
super
God.
fast, yeah.
So I guess you're playing a lot better in Call of Duty now, right?
Absolutely.
killing
I
it.
have
Was that
set
it?
up the leaderboard. And
That's all it was.
yeah.
Yeah, that happened to me too, actually, Wes. When I spent like $10,000 on my sim rig, I'm actually like winning all the races that I play in now. I'm really good now.
Yeah.
I
It
heard
was
that
the-
you got
it was
a
just the
call.
gear.
You got a call
That's
from
it.
Italy, the country, and they want you to drive a car for their racing team, much like Gran
Yes.
Turismo. I heard that's a thing. I heard it happens all the time.
Hashtag not a
The
sponsor.
the president of Italy called me. Yes, and now I'm a driver for
Yeah.
Team Italy, not Ferrari, just Team Italy. It's different.
Just Team Italy.
That's right.
If you learn nothing else from us, everybody, know that if you spend more money on a thing, it will be better. Or else
Right.
you'll tell yourself it's better so you can sleep better at night.
That's right.
Which I find to be a thing, which is actually what I did. My little update, I did not buy a keyboard, lube a keyboard, or anything of that matter. But I did finish a book this week. Obviously, everyone knows I have been abandoning my Star Wars reading, which is not true. I just finished it. To go into Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere, this week I finished book 2 of the Stormlight Archive, Words of Radiance, all 1,090 pages.
Jesus Christ.
Can crack
And I got this
multiple
new- I don't know if I
walnuts with that. Multiple.
Yeah, man. Got my new fancy book jacket on that.
That does look good.
I don't know. Like, what do you want from me? It's one of the best books I've ever read. Like, it's the highest rated book in the history of Goodreads, I think, except for the Calvin and Hobbes collection. And,
Holy shit.
yeah,
Is that true?
rightfully
What's
so.
it?
It is
What's
true.
it rated as?
A
what's it rated as?
4.76
You
A 4.76 is the
with like
highest. it goes on Goodreads.
350,000 ratings. Yeah.
You either read that
Wow.
fantastically long, it's a sci-fi novel,
Uh-huh.
or Calvin and Hobbes.
That's it. Or it's a fantasy novel. This is fantasy novel.
Okay.
But yes. Both are good. No, this is I don't know. I sat in bed for 8 hours on Sunday and just read this book. That's all I wanted to do in my life. So I love it. It continues to be
Damn.
great. I'm gonna keep on going. We got some other Youtini folks that are starting to read Sanderson stuff too, so we're forming a conglomerate. So if you like Star Wars books, so far, all of us that have read a couple Sanderson novels also
How many-
enjoy those.
How many Sanderson novels are there? Because like once you cross a certain threshold,
Yes.
like then we can do the Youtini treatment. We give it a timeline. We can give it a reading
Oh
order.
yeah.
How
He's
many are there?
getting
'Cause
there.
There's not that many though. Actually, are there
No,
like 20?
I mean,
There's 15
compared
or 20,
to
right?
all of Star Wars, no. But compared to other authors, yes. Yeah. Right now, there's somewhere around I think between 20 and 30.
Yeah, it's a
I
lot
think
though. That's a lot for
It's
one
a lot
author.
of writing. Because he's got some YA
Yeah.
stuff too. He's got all kinds of series, but one easily best created.
It is
decision
confusing.
I made
It
this
is
year.
confusing to the timeline of the what's it called? The universe. The
The Cosmere.
the Cosmere, the timeline of the Cosmere is very confusing, and that is what's motivated me to create Youtini in the first place. So I don't know, man. It's not that big of a jump.
We could possibly do it. Shout out to my buddy Derek, who is the biggest Cosmere friend I know. I text him constantly as I read to ask him what should I read next. And also, he's read these books 5 times each. These 1,000-page books 5 times each. He loves them that much. So if I ever need a picture of a character for my head, I'll just text him because I don't want to Google it and get a spoiler. So I'm like, hi, can I have a picture of Navani? He's like, yeah, got you. And he'll send me a picture of what from like, because there's a wiki, of course, for it. And he's like, because if I Google a picture of a character, they're like, cool, this character who dies in book 4 or whatever. So get yourself a friend that has already read the things you like so they can supply you with images. That's been great. And every time I'm not reading a Sanderson book now, I feel a little empty inside.
So we already have our first Sanderson team member then, is what I'm hearing. So
exactly, we'll bring him in. It'd be great. So we'll keep you posted on all that stuff. Of course, and if you guys are reading anything else too, let us know. We all love Star Wars. We all read all kinds of different things, watch all kinds of different things, and that's all fun. But most importantly, keep your Star Wars hat on when you support us over at Patreon. That's right, patreon.com/Youtini. You can get all the fun and support this show and the site and everything that we do. This week, we want to give a special thank you to Nathan Thompson, who joined as a monthly patron this past Friday. Thank you so much. Hope you're enjoying everything there. No official news this week, except if you're watching us live, keep an eye on the Penguin Random House Worlds Zitter page. What? I don't know. It's on X, Twitter, whatever.
What do you say for real? That's a good question. X?
The URL is still twitter.com. So go to Twitter, which also looks like X, but look out for the Zeets, which still say tweets on the site. On that website, Penguin Random House, whose handle is still at Del Rey Star Wars.
What the hell, Eric?
Okay.
What is happening right now?
If you go to twitter.com and you go to the Del Rey Star Wars or Penguin Random House World's Twitter account, tomorrow on August 1st, they will be revealing all 40 of the characters and stories that we're getting in the Return of the Jedi anthology book, which is coming out at the end of the month. We're going to talk about this extensively on next week's show. So stay tuned. Very excited about that. But for next week, just stay tuned. We'll go into depth and detail, but stay tuned about 10 a.m. I think Eastern tomorrow, and get your vibe out, get all that good stuff. All right. So for tonight, we're testing a new concept. We have tried a couple new things here recently, and tonight we thought it would be fun. One, not only to make a really great YouTube thumbnail, which if you're an audio listener, check out the thumbnail for this episode.
That's pretty impressive.
It's pretty phenomenal. But tonight, we are opening Youtini Court for the first time. You are all welcome in. Oh, yes, thank you. Wes, we got to show that up on the screen, I think, as well. Tonight, we are all taking our gavels, our powdered wigs, and robes, and we are going to be making decisions about past rulings. If you're familiar with Youtini.com, we rate every Star Wars book on a scale from, I believe, mediocre all the way up to masterpiece. And tonight, each of us has brought a book to the court that we believe is not currently rated appropriately. Each of us will take the stand as a lawyer, witness, etc., and give our arguments to the other two as to why we think our book should be brought up, brought down. We will then be open up to cross-examination and debate amongst the entire floor and the audience at home. And at the end, we are going to give our final statements and bring it to a vote, because we are nothing if not a democracy, except for those days where we're not. And Corey and I want to make a decision, basically. But for tonight, though, we're going to open Youtini Court for the first time. Wes, I did not put this in the outline or tell you about it earlier, which I think is fun. Do we have a spinny wheel or something just for our order of who can go first? Do you have a dice on you? Do you have... We asked dock your dog to pick a picture of one of us. How do you think we should select the order of who's going first? Because the first guinea pig is a hard person to beat.
Yeah, you're right. So I'm gonna do a random dice roll.
I like it.
So the person, I can roll it. So the person who's closest to the number that I roll on my screen will get to go last.
Ooh, okay, great. I like that.
All right, I like that.
All right. So what's your number, Eric?
How
0 to
many
what?
sided dice? Yeah.
Oh boy.
How many side dice is it?
That's a good
Because that
question.
affects it.
Yes. I
We
will
didn't plan
do.
this.
I will do a 12-sided die.
Okay.
12. Okay.
7. I'm gonna do 7.
Okay.
I'll do 9.
Okay. And I will do 11.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
all high numbers. Price is Right rules. All right, roll that dice.
So I rolled it
This
and
is
then
going over.
and the number is 5.
Yes.
So
I will
that's
go
Eric.
last. I will go third. All
All
right.
right. Corey, pick a number between 1 and 12.
5.
All right. I will
Right.
do 11 again.
Ooh, it worked so well last time, Wes.
And the number is 4. So I will go last, or I will go first. Shit. Oh, man.
No realization happening in front of our eyes.
All right, fine. Okay. Hear ye, hear ye. Welcome to the court in the medieval ages.
Hear ye. All right, so did you clarify what the structure is a little bit?
Yeah,
Eric?
we're gonna,
Because,
we're gonna
all
do
right,
that.
Yeah, opening statements, then debate, rebuttal, final statement, and the vote. This is a good time. We have just decided to burn a witch in the last case. So now, Wes, you're coming up next to talk about books,
Yes.
which
the
I also
crowd's all
think
fired
is
up.
illegal.
We're all fired
Yeah.
up. We just witnessed a classic witch burn-in. We're all in the mood now.
I'm hyped about it now. I'm feeling good.
All right, so much like Corey has already done, and I'm sure Eric did a little bit as well, I threw in my argument for the book that I was going to talk about today into Chat GPT. And holy crap. And holy crap, is it make me sound way more intelligent than I actually am. I am only going to read the first paragraph because the rest of it is way too detailed, and it actually doesn't really give me my my thoughts and my issues with this particular book. But ladies and gentlemen of the audience, today we gather to examine the undeniable truth that the Battle of Jeddah audio drama was a significant letdown, failing to live up to the expectations of both Star Wars enthusiasts and a vid audio drama enthusiast alike. As we delve
Oh my God.
into the reasons why this audio drama missed the mark, it becomes apparent that its execution was deeply flawed, robbing the listeners of the captivating experience they anticipated. Now, that's not completely true at all. Okay. But
But it's kind of true.
but I mean, it's kind of true.
Opening
All right.
statement. Opening statement.
Stephanie already objects. I see that. Okay. So currently in the Youtini grading system, we have five grades. We have masterpiece, incredible, great.
No, good.
No, good.
Good.
Sorry, good.
Yes.
Then fair, and then mediocre. All right. So we have listed the Battle of Jeddah audio drama as incredible. Now, my argument is to drop that rating to good, not necessarily increase the rating, but to drop the rating to good. I think the whole premise of today was to increase the rating and or the
Interesting.
reading order of books. I have chosen to drop this one because I haven't read the most, and because frankly, this was the one that I did the roundtable on, and I kind of remember more about it than all the other books that I've read. So, my main argument with this book, ladies and gentlemen, is it reset the conflict between Iram and Arano, we had 3 books before this actual audio drama came out. We had Path of Deceit, Convergence, and Quest for the Hidden City. Now, Quest for the Hidden City, correct me if I'm wrong, is the introduction of Solander's show. Yes? No?
Point of order. That is correct. That is correct.
Sustained.
Can we read that back? Can we read that back? Mr. Jenkins asked, correct me if I'm wrong, Quest for Planet Hidden City is the introduction of Solander's show. Mr. Eilerson, point of order, that is correct, Mr. Jenkins.
I would also like to apologize profusely to Jacob, by the way, for anything that we've gotten wrong through this entire podcast, because he is a resident lawmaker, I guess, in the group. So whatever we say, I'm sure he's gonna be laughing hysterically and crying at the same time. So
we should have probably consulted with him before we built this show, to be honest.
Why be accurate when you can be entertaining?
Yes,
that's what I ask.
That's fair.
The main argument was to reset the conflict between Imo and Arano. All right. So before the Convergence book, Irem and Arano were at odds. The Prince Fontu and Princess Ziri came together to get married, and in the conflict between the two worlds that are pretty much right next to each other, one's a water world and one is a desert world or something, right? I don't
Was
really
that a
remember.
water world?
One's a water world. Kevin Costner.
I missed that completely.
So, there was supposed to be, the Battle of Jeddah was supposed to be a peace treaty signing between 2 ambassadors, and it subsequently did not happen, and it eventually ended up in the Battle of Jeddah that we've been waiting for the entire time. We've heard the Battle of Jeddah in Rogue One. We saw Jeddah there with the knocked over statue. We want to know about that statue.
Yep.
So essentially the story and the conflicts and not necessarily the characters, but most of what happened before then didn't matter anymore, right? So I put together all of these truths. They made everybody agree or seem to agree, like, you know what? Fighting isn't right. We need to come together and to be stronger as a community and as a universe for these two worlds. And they were like, we almost got the buy-in, right? We had a whole book on that, 2 books at least. And then we strike that from the record, sort of, and then we go back to them fighting. So that was my main argument. All right.
Okay. Mr. Jenkins, do you believe that a piece of media, physical, auditory, or visual, can be judged based on the merits or sins of the previous material?
I can't. This accent is atrocious. It's atrocious. What?
I live in North Carolina now, Corey. I get it. But is the stories by your argument there? Again, just playing devil's advocate. Is this what I believe? Who knows? Is the book's merits in this case dependent upon what the other books said, or is its story more important on its own outside of those? What do you think?
I do think the story is more important on its own. But this particular story took way too long to get to the actual Battle of Jeddah. That was my second point. So we had a lot of, I feel like we had a lot of filler. We had a mediator of Morton Santeca bringing everybody together and getting the treaty signed. Yet he was ambushed by a droid, and then they went out for another few chapters to find another mediator because he died. I didn't like that part.
That wasn't great.
Point of order, the motion stands.
Okay. Sorry. Conjecture.
Now, I definitely can understand where, like what Stephanie was saying, it was kind of a foreshadowing and convergence where, happily ever after is never really happily ever after in Star Wars. So we're going to obviously see that implode, but I kind of use this as a theme, maybe as phase 2 as a whole, as it kind of undid everything at the very end, and we really only needed to read the last book. That's what I think. But there's a couple things that make this good and not like anything less than good, where to be fair or mediocre. We want it to be good. I mean, the most memorable things of this book were when what's his name? I wrote it down. I'm sorry.
You sure it's memorable? It doesn't really sound like
Yeah,
it.
you're
I
saying.
wrote it down. Master Creighton's son, his speech to both sides.
That
whole
was a great speech.
Was a fantastic speech. I have a summary of it. We don't have to go through it, but and there was also the beginning of the book has normal people. They have a lot of normal people in this, not necessarily Jedi, not necessarily people that are Path to the Open Hand or Brothers of the Ninth Door. There's that group as well. There were people that worked.
Is that
for,
real? Is that a real thing?
It's
Was
I
that in
think
this
so.
book?
Yes, it is.
We
Is it Brothers of the
need to
11th
research
Door?
that.
12th door.
It sounds
It's
real
ninth
enough
door.
to be fake.
It's ninth door.
Ninth door.
But they added some context to where normal people live in the Star Wars universe, believe it or not, and they have normal problems just like everybody else. Keth, the one that worked at I don't know if he worked, but I guess he got paid for it. But he was at what do you call it? The Guardians of the Wills, where they prayed. I don't know. Where they
Or the temple thing?
Whatever
I don't know.
What was it
Oh,
called?
the temple thing.
What was it called though?
I don't know what the hell you're even talking
The
about.
confluence?
Yeah, the
No,
Guardians of the Wills. What was the temple called that they go to? They have it.
Dude, I don't know.
Okay, so you didn't read it either, or listen to it at all. But anyways, Keth, he sacrificed himself for Solander's show, and before, in the very beginning of the book, Solander's show was sad because her Padawan, right? Wasn't her Padawan that got killed? Yes.
Wait, no, Slander shows? No, it was just another dude.
Just
a
another
guy.
dude. Okay,
Just
okay.
a guy.
But so she came to Jeddah empty, looking for some kind of purpose, or she was basically looking to get away. And then this also happens at the end of the book, where Keth sacrifices himself for Solander's show, which makes him what he was complaining about through the entire book was, I want my life to mean something, and it actually turned out to be that way. Those are a couple good instances of the book, but getting to the Battle of Jeddah took way too damn long, right? For me. And so I wanted more of the battle. I wanted the Battle of Jeddah to be last. It sounded like it lasted for an afternoon to me, from what I got from it. I wanted it to last weeks, if not months. Because when we see Jeddah in Rogue One, it is destroyed, right? It's not destroyed, but it's like rubble. So we didn't get I don't think we got good context of what Jeddah actually looked like before the Battle of Jeddah, but I think that the battle itself should have been longer, or written about longer, or had the characters use their audio a little longer. Yeah. So
I would like to call a witness to the stand.
Ooh! What?
is it your dog?
Eric,
Yes!
I want to call you to the stand as the first witness.
Wait, hold on. Okay.
You just come out of the shot and then come back into the shot.
That's exactly what I did, yeah.
All right. Eric, you are the witness.
Yeah.
Eric, do you
Yep.
or do
Yep.
you not oversee the review team at Youtini?
Yes, I do. Yep.
It's a simple yes or no question.
Sorry,
Eric.
yes. It could be
All right.
as if it should be so, then so it is.
Yes or no, please.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Oh my god.
Yes.
What did the review team have to say about this book?
There are certain parts of the review team that must be confidential for reasons to be named later and maybe subpoenaed. But we had to say that the book overall got an incredible there were certain parts of the review, which I'm pulling up now, that didn't receive an incredible rating. There was a little bit of discussion. So the plot, which is a lot of what Mr. Jenkins was describing in his diatribe, in his recollection, received
conjecture.
sorry, withdrawn. Received a good. The characters as well received a good. The writing and entertainment and performances received incredibles, which, given the split of the categories, brought it up to an incredible rating based on the weight of the performances.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's what we saw. Yeah.
Do I have the opportunity to interview the witness?
Of course.
So you're saying,
oh God, I gotta
Eric
work
Eilerson,
for this.
Yeah. Can you state your name for the court, please?
We already did that.
Eric, Doctor Judiciary Eric Eilerson Esquire.
Thank you. That's enough.
Yep.
So you're saying the incredible rating was on the fringe. It was more falling down towards the good rating than it was the incredible rating.
Mathematically, it was exactly in the middle of the two, so it could have been falling just as much as it was rising from good to incredible by your logic.
It's in the middle.
Sorry, yes or no, please.
Wes, what about the audio experience? Do you agree with the performance? I mean, that's like that was a key part of the review, was to give it to make it better, was to say the performance was incredible.
Performance,
because in your opening argument you said something about it being an insult to audio listeners as well.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
As I stated right after I read that,
definitely not a robot,
from a computer robot. Yes, from a robot. I said that it wasn't necessarily how I felt, but that is from what ChatGPT said, just as an opening argument to why I thought I would love to tell you what I wrote in here. Create an opening argument that the Battle of Jeddah was a bad audio drama. I shouldn't have put bad audio drama, all right? Wow. It wasn't a bad audio drama.
Leading the witness.
Right, yes, I was leading. I'm sorry.
Leading the robot.
But, okay, so performance-wise, I don't think it was incredible because I remember that I had a tough time deciphering between a couple of the characters. But also the actual Battle of Jeddah was a lot of yelling, and it's like no slight to George Mann himself, because how hard is it to not write a battle sequence, but to like have it as an audio drama where people are just yelling like, "Ha! I shot you! Ah, you got me!" You know, that's like all. So you have to have like, "Oh,
is that word for word
from over there?" I mean, it's very difficult, I think, but I don't think it was incredible. From my opinion. So,
okay.
Which makes me think that it's teetering. It's teetering to falling over to the good plateau. It's fallen from incredible.
I see it. I see it.
All right, Eric, we need to be able to rebuttal this. Is that how you would use that word?
Yeah.
Rebuttal this?
Rebut this. Yeah.
Rebut this. That sounds right.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go with that. Rebut. All right, we're gonna butt this argument and
again. We'll butt it over again.
Fine.
Butt it again. Yes. What? It sounds like the review team went from, we elevated it a little bit because it was a rounding.
Yep.
A rounding
based
experience.
on math. If you're in a half, you round up to the higher level.
That's correct. That's correct. But this was
Yes.
an audio drama by one of our favorite authors who we really like as a person. And we have really liked their other works. And they sort of got thrown to the wolves a little bit by having to write an audio drama, because Wes is correct, I think, in saying that combat is hard to write and perform in an audio drama experience. However, is that enough to say that it's a negative experience? Because I might argue that audio drama is supposed to be kind of wacky and performative. And like, are we supposed to appreciate this as an art form rather than as an audiobook experience? Because I think you can make a pretty strong argument that that warrants some artistic expression is a form of, it makes it better, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I think that the performances in these audio dramas we've gotten have always been interesting because from Dooku to Afra to here we've gotten mostly character, and then Tempest Runner also mostly single character focus, and then this giant sprawling thing was definitely kind of the first to try this bigger explosion, if you will, of character and action, way more action than dialogue. So. Do we give points then for it being ambitious, for trying to push the form, even though maybe it lost some clarity? I think it's a great question. I think that's going to be up to the final decision of this court.
That is a good question.
You do have to note that several of the other audio dramas did not suffer from that issue as well.
That is true.
Yes,
which has to be taken into account because
we can look at Tempest Runner, and that is rated as good, and I thought Tempest Runner was a fantastic audio drama.
That was not submitted into evidence before this trial. Let it be known that the defense has not seen this until this moment.
In general, in the ranking system, I feel that most of the books that we read, Star Wars books, should be in the good category. There should be far less in Incredible and even far less in Masterpiece. I don't think that this one makes the cut for Incredible. Based upon, I think it would have been incredible if it was written as a novel. If it was written as a novel, it could have been incredible because it gives
not
us
just
that
the
story.
script, as a prose novel.
Right. Not just as a script, correct.
Prose, yeah.
All right, interesting. Any, I guess.
Final arguments.
Wes, your final closing argument to the jury. You step up, button up your suit, and let us have it.
I would say, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that an audio drama in and of itself is very difficult to write, whether it be the script book or the actual audio drama itself. But nonetheless, that doesn't give it you don't get a participation trophy for doing something difficult that other people have not done before, and if it doesn't actually heed the mark of Youtini's incredible ranking. Okay, so I want to say that yes, the audio drama itself was a good story, very good story, but it's hard to live up to the novels that are labeled as incredible, when in fact that had a little bit of the storyline was kind of drawn out before we got to the Battle of Jeddah.
Okay.
Fair.
Well, here's the time. Very fair.
Fair. Now we don't have to change. We don't have to change anything. These are just arguments that we brought up in the court. We can bring this back up in civil court later on and actually get money for it.
Oh, there'll be appeals, etc. The whole process, but the initial ruling of the court. Wes, I mean, just for procedure, because there's only an odd number of us. What is your vote?
My vote.
I guess the question is, yay or nay? The Battle of Jeddah should be changed from incredible to good. Yay or nay?
Yay.
All right. Corey, yay or
nay?
And I, not that it matters mathematically, also say yay. You were very convincing, Wes. The yays have it. Do you have a gavel of any kind, Wes?
No,
with
but
you?
I wish we did.
I have applause.
Okay, you Yeah. Well, I can't hear that.
No.
I'm sure you did it. All right, noted. Gavels, put them on the list. First motion passes. The yays have it. All right. And, all right, another witch just got burned.
Court is adjourned.
Court is adjourned. Not so fast. Sit those butts in those seats. We got a triple header for you today. The Honorable Corey Helton walking into the courtroom, and we will hear this next case for Youtini Court.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, esteemed book readers, enthusiasts, today we gather in the Youtini Court to discuss a matter of importance, utmost importance, you might ask. For I would like to argue that the undeniable greatness of the literary masterpiece that is known as Catalyst by the renowned wordsmith James Luceno should not be what is currently rated on the site. For now, the book is rated as a good. And to the opposite of my esteemed colleague, Mr. Jenkins, I would like to make the argument that good is an insult to this incredible literary genius of Mr. Luceno, that this book instead should be rated as incredible, for the book Catalyst is in and of itself a catalyst for the Star Wars universe.
Jeez.
So I implore you to consider that this novel stands on the threshold of greatness, which beckons us to charge into uncharted territories of imagination and intellect for a prequel to a film to which we've never seen before. Because this is a testament to the old days when books came out before the movies, right? You knew something going into the theater, and you could have known something when you read this book before you went to see Rogue One. For in this book, there is a ton of stuff that you needed to know before you went into the film, starting with Galen Erso's story. The monologue that is featured in Rogue One is, in my opinion, one of the best monologues, if not the best monologue in all of Star Wars, at least the films, perhaps, for that one in Andor was really damn good. But one of the best monologues in all of Star Wars is by Galen Erso, where he basically tells the entire story in like a 60-second moment, right? And we get his entire story, how he arrived at that point, right? We also get the construction of the Death Star, one of the most iconic pieces of Star Wars history, right? We also get the really complex relationships between Galen, his wife Lyra, troublesome Lyra, if you will, and Orson Krennic. All of their background stories are fully explored in this book. So that is my opening statement. I wish to make the argument that Catalyst should be marked as incredible and not merely as good, due to these intricate interplay between the personal motivations, all the political ambitions of the book, and the looming presence that is the Death Star over the entire Star Wars saga. That concludes my argument, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Helton.
It's Dr. Helton.
It's Mr. Helton. Are you familiar with the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
I am familiar with the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
This same tragedy, also written by one James Luceno. Is that correct?
That is correct.
This book, that although it maintains the heralded rare level of masterpiece on the Youtini site, frankly unquestioned, very easily voted as masterpiece. Would you not agree that readers that try to read Plagueis before reading any other Star Wars books would not enjoy the experience and possibly even be turned off of Star Wars books as a whole? Would you say that is accurate?
Horseshit, Your Honor.
Yes or no, please. Yes or no, please.
Mr. Helton,
You're making me. You're saying that it's Dr. Helton.
Mr. Helton,
you're saying it's Dr. Helton.
You will use proper language in this courtroom, or I'll hold you in contempt.
Ooh.
All right. You're making me. So you're saying that it's not as good as Plagueis? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm getting to my point. I'm starting off by establishing that Plagueis is not a good. Can have negative effects on people reading it if they try to read it too early. Is that a fair statement?
That is I think it's a fair statement.
Okay, great. So, if that's a fair statement, is it possible that Catalyst's good rating acknowledges the difficulty that some readers may have accessing Luceno's particular style of writing, and therefore is more of a look at the reader's journey, which Youtini tries to create, to say, hey, maybe don't start with the masterpieces and Incredibles, and if they do, keeping Catalyst away from those that may try to read it too early. And in that case, would good be a more appropriate moniker?
Early as, say, a book that falls in the middle of a gigantic series, which you needed a whole bunch of other stuff to know. Maybe a book that came in a strange audio format that readers are not necessarily familiar with. I don't know. A book such as The Battle of Jeddah, you could maybe argue.
Sustained.
Maybe. Cross-X. But a
I
possible-
do not.
possibility.
I do not think that the accessibility of the early journey of a reader's experience necessarily has a huge part to play in the book's rating system. Maybe,
Okay.
perhaps you could maybe argue that a true masterpiece has to be fairly accessible. Like, I think that's a fair argument that a
Fair.
masterpiece has to be accessible. But I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect, once you've ran out of masterpieces, because as Wes said, there's not that many of them, and there shouldn't be that many of them by the sheer bell curve argument. Once you've gone through all the masterpieces, I would say you're no longer a noob to Star Wars books at that point. So,
that's fair.
Let alone Catalyst is a direct prequel to a film, like one of the, if not the best Star Wars film that's ever been made, right? So like, I think it's pretty hard to argue that a book that is basically about all the characters that newcomers to Star Wars in general may be somewhat familiar with is a pretty damn strong argument that you can read it pretty early.
Interesting.
Dr. Helton.
Thank you.
Would
You
you
gave
say?
You're weak.
Would you say?
You're a beta, Wes.
First of all, when you're screaming at me through the pews back there, Eric, you let me ask the question when it's my turn to ask. Now then, Dr. Mr. Helton.
Dr. Mr. Helton.
Would you say that you have to read Cataclysm before you watch the movie Rogue One to enjoy Rogue One?
No, I would not make that argument. I don't think it's a necessary. I think Rogue One and all the Star Wars films by themselves could be picked up by themselves and watched, but that's the nature of movies, in my opinion, right?
Sure.
Would you say that part of your rating to push this up to incredible is off the back of the movie Rogue One and not necessarily about the story?
Ooh.
That is an excellent question, actually, because it is very challenging, I would argue, to separate the two, much in the way that it is challenging to separate Darth Plagueis from the Phantom Menace. I think they coincide together very nicely, but I think that's what makes it such a wonderful experience, because I would say that it is probably completely unheard of. Basically, I bet it's less than 0.1% of Star Wars book readers have never seen the films. You know what I mean? So I would say that, if you liked Rogue One, it would be very hard for you to argue that you're not going to like Catalyst. And nobody doesn't like Rogue One. That is also the 0.1%.
That
is not inherently true. Dr.
It's
Mr.
mostly
Helton.
true. It is
Should be
mostly true. I think of all the films that people argue about on the internet, Rogue One is probably one of the least argued about. I mean, every single time I've ever seen it in a thread where people are like, Rogue One sucks, everyone's like, you're a freaking idiot. No, it didn't.
What are you talking about?
And that's
Follow-up
my argument.
question.
No, it didn't.
Is it possible that because this book came out before the formal creation of the Youtini review team, that the whole site may have hold on, I got a technical term, just completely whiffed on this one? Is it
Oh man,
Is it
That is-
possible
Say it
That
slower.
is-
Pronounce it.
that
Pronounce
we
it.
just whiffed?
Enunciate.
that is a very good question, because when we built the Youtini site, we had to we did a lot of math, we did a lot of statistical analysis. We pulled in the direct ratings from all the Amazon reviews and all the ratings from the Goodreads. I don't think I've ever talked about this before. We pulled in all the ratings from the Goodreads team and the Amazon reviews, and basically put it all into bell curves, and then played with the numbers a little bit and adjusted things a little bit, created the new Youtini scale, and then we went through and basically we had the entire review team give, like, if there's anything that you disagree with on this, like, make your arguments now, basically.
Yeah.
And there is a fair chance that the review team may have what was that technical jargon you use?
Oh, sorry.
Whiffed
Yes,
on
legalese.
Catalyst. Yes, there's a decent chance I think that may have happened actually.
Yeah. Given the fact that last week, if you missed our episode last week in the tier ratings, when the three of us unanimously put Catalyst in the S tier of books, I believe, didn't it?
We
That's
did.
true. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah. Corey, do you have any closing statements before we go to voting on this one?
The only closing statement, devil's advocate, that I will give is that James Luceno is absolutely an acquired taste. I would maybe say. I mean, that's not the right word. I would say that Chuck Wendig is an acquired taste.
Mm-hmm.
Luceno is to like Luceno, you have to be able to appreciate the intellectual side of Star Wars. You have to be able to appreciate the dark and gritty, maybe even boring and academic side of Star Wars. I would say
academic is a great word. This is an academic book, and not in a way that where you're dumb if you don't like it, but it is about like science and minerals. There's a lot of stuff that is academic, for sure.
A sentence might be like 8 lines long, like in the book, like like seriously.
Oh, real talk.
Real talk. So I can certainly understand maybe a casual reader's apprehension to Catalyst, but the richness of the book and how well it really sets up Rogue One is pretty hard to argue with. Like, to the point that, I mean, I think if I was completely in charge of the Youtini reading order, and I was handing a stack of all the books,
Would you like to be?
No, I do
You're
not.
going on record. Going on record.
Absolutely.
No, I do not want that. But if I was in charge of it and I had to literally hand a stack of like the first 25 books to somebody, Catalyst would absolutely be in that stack of books.
I would agree with you on that based upon it being tied into a book or tied into a movie. For sure.
Yeah, so directly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there are not that many books.
Experience, for sure.
There are not that many books that are truly a prequel to where you could read this book and immediately watch the film, and it's as if it's the same thing. Like, there are not that many books you can do that with.
It's really not. Yeah. Okay. We call our next vote.
Yep.
Should Catalyst, Star Wars, Catalyst, a Rogue One novel by James Luceno be moved from good to incredible? Yay or nay? Dr. Mr. Corey Helton. Yay or nay?
Yay or nay? Yay.
Yay. Wes Jenkins. Yay or nay?
Oh, boy. Based upon our conversation last week during the canon tier rankings, yes, I'm going to go ahead and say nay.
Nay?
Are you?
I'm going to say yay. Yay. It should be in the incredible, for sure.
Okay. And for me, yay. We whiffed on this hard, man. I have no idea. Okay, it's just good. It's just like the one tonight that I might we'd have to go back to the website and just bump it up.
So
because I do have that power.
Bloodline is incredible, and in the actual our tier rankings, we have Catalyst right next to Bloodline, which is also right next to Star Wars Victory's Price.
All of those other books, I think, in that entire tier are incrable.
Yes.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure. There might be one or two masterpieces.
I think
insane.
the Rising Storm's a masterpiece, actually.
Yeah, so is Victory's Price. So, yep, nope, totally whiffed. Thank you for bringing this to the court's attention. Now,
all right,
Yep,
Eric.
our three-peat. All right, hold on. I'm just getting my glasses ready here. Just getting my paper set. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I come to you today, a humble servant of the law. I believe in justice. I believe in rightness. And I also believe in the powers of epic storytelling. That is why I bring you a book this evening that is epic in scope, is intimate in character creation, is familiar in its use of a milieu of characters from the saga films by George Lucas. This is a book we don't see much nowadays, and a book that was maligned with a good rating, which we all know means bad. So, it is this that allows me to pull back the curtain of lies and insert the voice of truth. To bring you Aftermath Life Debt, the second Aftermath book by Mr. Chuck Wendig. And I open with the following statement. This book is an incredible book because of 5 points. The first, this book has Sloane, Admiral Sloane, in a position of power, and in the subsequent years since its release, we have missed her. She has been wanted by fans for years, and now her reputation holds this book up in a way it may not have been valued in the past. It also reveals a number of different locations, like Coruscant, Nar Shaddaa, and the titular Kashyyyk. These are planets we now wish to see in Star Wars books, too many of which now have 1 planet. 2 planets, paltry. Nothing. Distasteful. We have planet hopping. Number 3, Han Solo is a badass in this book. He is not tired. He is not divorced. He is not on his honeymoon. He is a badass looking for his friend on Kashyyyk. And we have not gotten that since. Number 4, when this book was released, Chuck Wendig's writing was maligned as bad, as childish. It is now merely different, because I believe in the years since we have seen books that are written badly, childishly, and may have potentially also been rated good. Who's to say? Finally, this is a story with multiple POVs, points of view, classic and new characters intertwining with the crew from Aftermath 1. A good book, fair, I agree, that's fine. But the characters from the first novel interspersing with narrators from the films. And because of that, it remains unique. Because we have not seen that in years past. We have wanted books with new and old together. We have seen books with new and old aside. Because of all those reasons, I believe Life Debt is in our debt, and therefore must be risen to the pedestal of incredible. That's what I got. That's my thoughts.
Oh wow! Let's just. That was amazing.
Oh,
That was amazing.
Oh, it brings a tear to my eye. It truly does. Thank you.
It feels like that scene in Catch Me If You Can, where he's like, "Son, there is no jury, there is no defendant. There's only you and me. So let me ask you this: what in the hell are you talking about?"
That's exactly it. Exactly the vibe.
Oh God!
Yes.
That was very good. It's very obvious
Thank
which
you.
of the 3 of us was an actor in his previous life. Oh Jesus! Okay. Oh well. So you're essentially arguing this book should be incredible.
Yes.
What are the other Aftermath books?
Aftermath 1 is good. Empire's End is incredible. Currently. That is the reference point.
The second one.
Okay.
I can't remember the details that happened in this one. I know that stuff that happened in the last one.
I am also in Stephanie's boat here. I have not read it yet. Your diatribe has made me move it up the list to 5 years from now. I could probably get it done.
5 years from now.
That's solid. So this book, one of the big parts of it is that Chewie has been separated from Han, and Han has to go to Kashyyyk to find him, and then they try to help liberate the Wookiees of Kashyyyk alongside the Aftermath squad. There's some other stuff in there. Simultaneously, Ray Sloane is meeting with, I believe, Brendel Hux at this point. So we got a little of like precursor to like the First Order, Armitage Hux stuff. So one of the reasons I actually did bring it back is because I think, as I said in my opening, in a bunch of words, this book weirdly has stakes with actual characters and plot points. And I think at the time, because it was so new, a lot of readers were kind of expecting that with books, and we would just get that. And I think we've seen, especially since like the Mando time put a lot of those in TV, a lot of the books we've gotten have been afraid to really use main characters and real stakes and real giant story elements. And I think in retrospect, it's like, oh, this is kind of what we say we want, when a lot of books kind of end a little early when nothing else really pushes forward.
That's fair. I mean, we don't have a lot of series and trilogies in Star Wars canon in general, and this is one of the only ones. Unfortunately, the first book in this trilogy is like so hard to get through for a large portion of the audience. It makes it hard to move into this one, which is why I think this one is so often looked over.
I think so.
The third one, in my opinion, is absolutely incredible. I think that like the way that it sets up the sequel trilogy, I don't think there's many other books that really can do that, just in general, like that, do that at all. So, you know, I do think you make some good arguments that like having some stakes is actually pretty decent, because like you say, we don't know if it's Disney or if it's the authors. We don't really know why no one has really tried to tell major stories with major characters since Wendig. I mean, not really. I mean, even the books that feature the major characters like barely touch anything. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's the second one. I just don't know if the second one is on the same level as the third one, as stupid as that sounds.
Yeah. I get that. And I think that's interesting, because I think there's definitely a jump from 1 to 2 because of the bringing in of the main characters. Because that was one of the big reasons that 1 was maligned, is that it was the first like Journey to Force Awakens canon book. The only screen quote unquote character we really got was Temin, who was going to be Snap Wexley. And everyone's like, what the hell is this?
Who the hell is this? And the writing style was very tough, and things did change a lot in the second book, but things changed completely by the third book. I mean, the third book is almost unrecognizable from the first book. Like, I'm not really sure what happened dramatically, but it seems like you listened to the editing feedback, I suppose. So
good editors will do it.
Good editors will do it. Fair argument, though.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's one that I've also tried to go back and read, but you know me, do I have time to reread? Of course not. But it's always up there, and I think that it does kind of suffer the sins of the first, and I think more so relates to the accolades of the last.
It's definitely it's definitely on the teetering edge of being good versus incredible. That is for sure. The question is, does its lead into the third book, which is incredible, make it an incredible, or does it pay the price for the sins of the first book?
Right.
That's what makes it good. That is a fair question, because it did have to spend a decent amount of time sort of undoing the pain of the first book to some degree, just because of the writing style and all that. So,
okay, so just looking at our tier rankings, physical proof, we show here that it is an A book. It's an A tier ranking, with Tarkin labeled as good. Aftermath Empire's in is incredible. Alphabet Squadron is good. Phasma, good. Brotherhood, good. Perfect Weapon, I don't really know. Crash of Fate, good. Aftermath Life Debt, good. So it's in a tier of goods.
Interesting.
You are
interesting.
You are talking about jumping tiers pretty much to the S tier for incredible.
That's fair. That's fair.
I might be.
Or essentially moving it all the way up to the front of the A tier, where Aftermath Empire's in is an incredible as well. So,
right. And I will say, I think that as opposed to some of the other arguments I had, or playful retorts against the Battle of Jeddah being affected by other media, I think a large part of my Aftermath, I guess, love, beyond the fact that I love the books probably the most out of all of us, I do think that the subsequent years of us looking for what this did accidentally has also caused it to rise upon re-examination. Because I think that there's, it's how people you can like something, but then you don't realize how good you had it in the time, right? And
That's fair.
realizing that, oh, we had multiple planets and big missions. Like Alphabet Squadron, I think, gave us that, like, scratch that itch, which is why I think it's also very high. And in this case, I do think that the time spent since its release, because of what it's been surrounded by, has elevated it.
It's aged like a fine wine.
Exactly.
That's perhaps true.
Fine
although-
Tonneray wine, if you will. Star
Yes.
Wars.
It's fair. It's fair.
I've had it. It's just white wine they make blue. Sorry, Galaxy's Edge. It's good.
Was that
just-
your closing statement?
So my closing statement is this. I do believe that in life, there are times that seem hard when in reality the sun is shining upon us. And it is not until the clouds go in front of that beautiful, magnificent orb that we truly feel the lack of its heat. Aftermath Life Debt has heat, has passion, has the fire of every character within it, every plot point, every piece of violence, every monologue, every tender moment. And this day, I believe that if we are ever to rise to those glorious peaks of passion and fire again, it behooves us to remember the places that we used to be and remember them with the appropriate amount of respect and dignity.
Testify.
Thank God there is a wind guard on your mic. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, pop filter.
Yes, pop filters. What I was trying to say. All right, everyone, it is time to vote. Yay or nay? Nay.
Goodness.
I'm going to say, with all the evidence you provided, if it was in a document slid over to me and I read it, I would abhorrently say nay. But Eric, the delivery that you gave sold me to no end. And I'm
Yes!
going to say yay. Put this to incredible.
Lord have mercy, the votes have passed.
And there's hugging, and there's church bells ringing, and Mr. Wendig, we are coming home. Oh, glory, glory. Well,
Oh, man.
my goodness. Gavel, gavel, gavel. Gentlemen and gentlemen of the jury, as it were.
All three of these passed, didn't they?
Yeah, I
they
think
did.
yeah, they did, because I think we make good, good arguments. And here's the thing. So everyone, a little peek behind the scenes. This is our first try at Youtini Court, and this is one evolution of what it could be. I think that there are many things about our glorious universe in Star Wars that can be argued that may be a little more on edge. Because I will say, before we went on live tonight, we were looking at our list. We feel pretty good about most of our ratings.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
except I got that Catalyst one is baffling. What were we doing?
Oh,
Truly,
no, it's bad.
truly.
I was talking with him before the show, and the only other book that I could argue was Force Collector, and that was bringing it down a notch. Another one down. And everything else was pretty much on par with what I was thinking, if not perfectly correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, these will not be officially reflected yet. Maybe we'll talk about them as the year goes on. But that is, the court is adjourned. The court will reopen someday. Yep, gavels everywhere. At another time, another place. The court is mysterious. It never comes in the same place twice. So beware, be aware, and join us next week because we are going to be looking at all of the stories that are going to be in, what do they call it? From a certain point of view. I totally forgot the name of the book.
Oh, these are my
From a certain
favorite.
point of view.
These are my
Return of
favorite.
the
I can't
Jedi.
wait.
Yes, Wes, you adore these. Before we go, Wes, because they're your favorite, I want to ask you, other than the obvious ones,
This
what is
wasn't in the
one
outline.
character? This wasn't in the outline.
This
No,
wasn't in the outline.
I don't like to give Wes time to prep. I think it's more fun for me. Wes, what is one character you really, 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 really want to be announced tomorrow, and not like, the Rancor Keeper. Yeah, duh. What do you want? What's your number one?
The Sarlacc would be a good character to write about, right?
Oh, POV of the Sarlacc.
Yes. How long it's been there? If it's how many things it's eaten? Like, yeah, that would be a good.
With the dumb tongue mouth.
Well, that would be an interesting point of view.
The beak tongue.
The beak tongue.
It'd be a very interesting point of view. Now that we've seen, the Book of Boba Fett and seen Boba Fett actually get out of the Sarlacc, he's like, "What in the hell?" And I felt myself regurgitating when I wasn't actually throwing up.
That little man crawled out of my beak tongue.
Hey, throw me a rope to him. Nah, man, I got a gig.
I gotta go.
There ain't no rope up here.
All right.
We'll see you next week for that. Look forward to another. I think we're going to tier rank those like we did last week. We had such a fun time. So tune in live. We're going to do it on video for you. But my friends, that'll do it for this week's episode of The Living Forest. If you support us on Patreon, thank you so much for that. And a special thanks, as always, to Brian Dooley, Earl Q, Carl Sander, Zach W, Michael Fry, and Raymond Bazensky on our Jedi High Council, and James T, Ashley Ingalls, Colton Fife, and Chris Carrizo on our Alliance High Command. You can find us on Twitter at Eric Eilerson, at Corey M. Helton, at Boss West, at Living Forest Pod. A special thank you to Matt Davenport, our amazing editor, Ryan, our graphic designer extraordinaire, and Wes, our producer and community manager, and I gotta say, our buddy Kyle, who made the beautiful thumbnail that you see this week. Thank you to Corey and Wes for potting with me tonight. Thanks to all of you for hanging out, and as always, may the Force be with you.